Hello, today is Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. A few weeks ago, my colleague Laura McDonald and I gave you some moves you can make that could save you some money on your ICT spend. We also highlighted the importance of periodically competitively sourcing your ICT because your needs change, so does your strategy and your long-term plan. This is also true on the supplier landscape. On today's podcast, we are going to give you 5 steps you'll want to take if you do want to strategically source your ICT by using an RFP. That's a request for proposal. To do that, I'm joined by Brent Knight, who is a senior consultant here at TC2. Hey, Brent, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Joe. It's good to be back.
Okay, lay it out for us, Brent. What are the 5 steps enterprises need to take for strategically sourcing their ICT services using an RFP?
Well, step 1 relates to the strategy and plan you mentioned. You need to have a clear view of what it is you want to buy and from whom. This isn't always an easy step to do. Maybe you want managed services, maybe you're a DIY shop, maybe you want one throat to choke, or maybe you want best of breed by region or technology stack. Unfortunately, Joe, too often clients think, well, if I'm going to go through the effort of issuing an RFP, I might as well include as much of my technology and services as possible for my global footprint and include as many vendors as possible.
Yeah, that doesn't work. For an RFP to be effective, you need to be super clear on what you want to buy and then have those suppliers that are qualified to deliver the solution prepare proposals. For example, having a predominantly wireless provider like T-Mobile bidding to provide cloud services, well, that just doesn't make sense.
Right. Okay, so assuming you get the strategy right, then you have to define your requirements. And it's not just your technical requirements, though that's one component.
So besides the technical requirements, what else needs to be pulled together?
You need your service level requirements, your operational requirements, your implementation and service management requirements. You also have to gather what you need from an operational support, billing, and financial position. You need your legal requirements, and you certainly have to have a demand set and inventory of the services you want to purchase so that you can get pricing from the bidders.
So presumably, it's not just an engineer or a procurement lead pulling those together. Many stakeholders from different corporate functions. Heck, maybe you also need your vendors to help.
In our experience, yes, that's right. You need many stakeholders involved. If you try and wing it and guess at things like billing requirements, you'll be disappointed in the end. It takes time to pull this material together, but if you do the work right up front, it helps tremendously when you prepare the RFP.
Okay, there it is, the RFP.
Yes, step 3 is to prepare the RFP. The RFP is a structured document that organizes all of these requirements we just highlighted. Because you've spent the time gathering your specific requirements, it's really important to state what you want rather than ask the bidders what they want to offer in the RFP.
How does that work?
Well, for example, if the CIO says she wants to see a detailed work plan, or if your finance team says they want payment terms of net 45, say that's what you want in the RFP rather than asking the bidders what they're offering. They may not agree to your requirement, but at least you and they have a starting point. Wherever possible, you want to be prescriptive rather than leaving a requirement wide open.
All right, so you mean that dreaded, tell us about your capabilities in this area type of question.
Yes, that's right. If you have too many of those types of requirements in the RFP, it becomes more of an RFI, request for information, and you're going to get a lot of information that you'll find very difficult to compare across the bidders.
So that data gathering step is really important. And companies do need to do some homework about what it is they want to buy. So they probably shouldn't say, I want to buy network transport, for example, but rather say they want to buy MPLS or dedicated internet or business broadband. And I guess if you don't know, you have to be able to at least state your performance expectations. And that will help the bidders decide on what the right solution is to meet those expectations.
Yes, as part of the RFP, I'll call this step 4. You need a process for running the procurement. You need to lay out the time frame for the procurement what tools will be used, like Ariba, if you'll be having a bidders conference so the bidders are clear on the RFP scope. You need to have a way to let the bidders ask questions when they're preparing their proposals. When you define the process, you need to explain what the proposal format needs to look like and who the points of contact are. It's useful to explain how the proposals will be evaluated, if the bidders will have an opportunity to demonstrate their solution, and ultimately when you expect the contract or contracts to be completed and the new technology and services to be installed.
So what do you do once you receive the proposals?
Okay, so that's step 5, evaluation. If you've structured the RFP right, the proposal should allow for an apples to apples comparison across the bids and allow you to benchmark the pricing and other key provisions. As part of the evaluation, you will almost certainly have to go back to some bidders and ask them to clarify some of their responses. Once you've completed the evaluation, you can then give the bidders feedback on where their proposals came up short and try to get them to improve their response. When that's finished, you pick your supplier or suppliers and then complete the contract or contracts. Even though you pretty much have agreed to what a deal is going to look like through the procurement process, getting to an executable contract, that takes some time and effort.
Yes, it does. So much so, Brent, that I'm going to record a separate podcast on contracting for ICT services with my pal Laura McDonald from LB3, probably in the next week or so. Okay, Brent, do you have any final thoughts?
Well, like we said, setting the strategy, pulling your requirements together, getting the RFP written, running the procurement, and evaluating the proposals is an effort, but an effort worth making because we've found there is no better way to create the healthy tension between suppliers that ultimately gives the enterprises the leg up in these strategic sourcing efforts.
All right. Thank you, Brent. I appreciate you sharing your insight. If you are contemplating issuing an RFP for ICT services, we are here to help. So feel free to give Brent, me, or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues a call or just shoot us an email. You can also stay up to date by subscribing to these Staying Connected podcasts, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.